onto I-80 West.
Welcome back to Got the Magnets.
261
Road
miles.
edition.
Continue straight.
I am Joe, and I'm here with my wife, Susan.
Hello.
And we are somewhere on the Ohio Turnpike. I think we're near Portage. We just stopped to have lunch, top up on gas. We are en route from Altoona, Pennsylvania to Elkhart, Indiana. What did we do this weekend in Altoona?
We went to the Horseshoe Curve and the Railroad Museum.
Yeah. What did you think of Horseshoe Curve?
I enjoyed it. We saw an Amtrak train, a local train, and a
Norfolk Southern?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw a train that, we met somebody who knew a little bit about the trains, and it was a coal train heading west, which is extremely rare. Apparently it had been sitting down in Altoona for a couple days, and according to his sources, which are people on the web, that it was headed back to near Sandusky, Ohio, and we was going to be loaded onto a barge somewhere. So it was just an odd to see that. Horseshoe Curve was nice. Usually they have a funicular that takes you up the grade. Instead, that's been out of commission for a little while. They are working to get it repaired. Rumor has it that it's going to be operational on weekends for the next month, including when Big Boy comes to visit. I don't know if that's fact or just rumors. But so we had to walk up 191 steps. What do you think? 2 or 3 breaks?
And we were huffing and puffing on the way up.
Yeah. Not as young as we used to be. And then on the way down, we actually got to see another train come by. So that was a nice little bonus. And then downstairs they have a museum devoted to how the Horseshoe Curve was built. At the time, it was an engineering marvel. Its purpose was, instead of having to go around or through the Allegheny Mountains, it could go navigate around them. So it really shortened the amount of time that it took to get freight from the Pittsburgh side of the Allegheny Mountains to the New York and Philadelphia side. And at the time, that's when Pittsburgh was the heart of the steel industry and the coal industry. So it really helped put Pennsylvania Railroad on the map. And yesterday we went to, I believe it's called the Railroaders Memorial Museum. And what were your thoughts on that?
Speed check reported ahead on I-80 West.
It reminded me of a Police Touch Museum.
Okay.
Where you get to push buttons and be able to touch some things, especially in the lab section. You got to see through telescopes and see what sand looked like through a telescope and oil.
I missed that part of it. But it was a really nice museum. We had met somebody who wasn't a big fan, and I can see what he meant by that because it has very little rolling stock. It doesn't have many engines, doesn't have many box cars or passenger cars like we witnessed in Strasbourg. It's more devoted to the city of Altoona and its place in railroad history. A lot of the Pennsylvania Railroad, which was the leading railroad in the country in the 18 and early 1900s. That is where a lot of their locomotives were manufactured, and they were manufactured in the building that the museum, that houses the museum. And you get to learn about how they were manufactured, the crew. You also learn about the history of Altoona and what it was like living in there during its heyday. So it was really good. It reminded me of, we went to the Titanic Museum in Belfast, Northern Ireland. It reminded me of that because it dealt with the different aspects of the company, the area, and the actual building process. So I really enjoyed the museum. I don't know if it's one we'll go to all the time if we're in the area, but it's very good. And then we went out to the yard to see a couple of the pieces of equipment, and from there we could actually see a couple of trains go by, which was neat. We actually saw Norfolk Southern hitched to a couple with, what do you call it, a hopper car. So that was neat to see firsthand, and got that on film. And then last night we went to the Altoona Curve baseball game. And Altoona Curve is the AA affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And they were playing the Redden Fighting Phils, who they're the affiliate of the Philadelphia Phillies. And so naturally we were cheering secretly for the Fighting Phils, and it was a good game. It was a nice stadium. It wasn't anything spectacular. It was crowded. To get in, I've never waited in a line that long to get into a minor league stadium. I think that's short of 6,000 people. So they had a good crowd. It was fireworks and Star Wars night. And so you got your picture taken, stormtroopers?
Yes.
And I think it was Boba Fett was who you got the picture taken with. And it was nice. Rained for the first couple innings. It wasn't a heavy downpour. It wasn't enough to stop the game. Wasn't enough for us to seek cover. It was enough for us to get wet though. But it cleared up. The Fighting Phils won, I think it was 14-5, something like that.
Yeah.
The Curve came back in the end and they scored 3 or 4 runs in the 8th inning. But it really was never in doubt. But it was a good time. Yeah, they have 3 mascots. One's Loco, and I think that's short for locomotive, the train. The other was a fish, and it took us a good part of the game to realize that his name was Altoona. He's a tuna fish, which makes sense. And the other one, I don't know if he has a name, but he was dressed up for Star Wars night in a hood, and so he was Darth Dog?
That's what I call it.
Yeah, okay. That wasn't. Oh, I didn't realize that was a Seuss creation. Nice job.
It's a dog and
Yeah, okay.
and a Darth cape, so that's what I said. Call him Darth Dog.
And they had activities. It was your standard minor league. If you're in the area, I'd recommend going, but I wouldn't make a special trip. When we go to these things, we do miss Mr. Celery from Wilmington. We go to the Blue Rocks games in Wilmington, Delaware regularly, and they have a mascot called Mr. Celery, who doesn't do much except for when the Blue Rocks score, he comes out and dances to Woohoo. I can't remember the official name of the song, but it just goes woo, and the whole crowd goes wild. And you do miss him when he's not there. And then we're hungry when we left, so because the Curve scored over 4 runs, we get 50% off Papa John's pizza. We got a code to use, so we grabbed the Papa John's pizza for half price on the way back, and that's what we just finished for lunch. You also, because they have a thing where if a certain player strikes out, McDonald's gives a free Big Mac. Unfortunately, we are leaving the area, so we won't be able to get that. So we're just driving on our way to Elkhart, and we're stopping there for a couple days before we head to Joliet for the NASCAR race.
we have to see why the pitcher got ejected from the game, from the Fighting Phils.
Yeah, that's right. The starting pitcher for Fighting Phils was pitching well. He starts off an inning, and they're up by a bunch, and he hits the first batter. It didn't look like it was anything deliberate. It looked like somebody just got away from him. The umpires get together, and they throw him out of the game. There had been no warning, nothing that anybody around us could tell, so it's a mystery why he got thrown out. And then either the manager or the bench coach came out to argue, and they got thrown out. And then whoever, the manager or the bench coach, the one who didn't get thrown out, came out to argue, and they got thrown out. So we're not sure who was running the team, but like I said, they won handily. You know, you really don't need to coach home runs, and I think the Fighting Phils had 5 home runs last night, something like that. So it was very entertaining. While we're out in Iowa, we may catch an Iowa Cubs game. That's going to be a game time decision, no pun intended, depending on how we feel. It's about a 40-minute drive from where we're staying. And yeah, we're going to be catching a Twins game in Minnesota in late July. We're going to be out in the Denver area. We're probably going to catch a Rockies game. So we have a bunch of baseball games coming up. I think when we go into Canada, when we go into Winnipeg, we're going to catch a Canadian Basketball League game in Winnipeg. Just I'd like to see different sports. So, do you have anything else to add to before we go to our questions?
No.
Okay. So we're preparing questions, stuff that people have asked us, or we see commonly asked on the internet. It's a way of educating people, and it helps pass the time. And this would be a good time to remind you to like and subscribe to this video, and please share it. It's fun. Actually, sorry about that. Didn't know if that room was coming together or splitting. So a lot of people seem to be responding to our driving videos. They're getting a lot more views. It's a great way to see parts of the country without actually having to drive it. Watching on the internet, the gas prices are a lot cheaper than driving it yourself. That looks like a pipeline going over the highway. That's a rarity. So just let us know if you have any questions. But what questions do you have? So,
since you're on the railroad kick, which station did you like the most? The Strasburg's, Pennsylvania, or Ashland, Virginia, or the Horseshoe Curve, or I don't even remember what the one in Georgia.
The Folkston Funnel. Out of those, I liked Ashland. Strasburg Railroad isn't really a railroad station. It's a tourist attraction. It's a tourist trap in the nicest sense of the word. It's a tourist trap that's worth the money. It's just the historic trains that run that 4.5-mile road to Paradise and back. The Folkston Funnel, we really didn't see enough because of the weather and because we had been driving. We didn't spend that long, but there are cabins across the way that you can rent. From when I looked at the times I was looking, they were around $100 a night, and you're right there on the track. So that's definitely in our future. And then Ashland, I really liked Ashland. I like that little town of Ashland. I've been there several times. Being able to sit, just watch the trains, it gets a lot of traffic. It gets several Amtrak trains a day, gets a lot of freight trains, it gets the auto train. But if you want to go to all the stations that we visited since we started this, I really liked Flagstaff. That was one I watched regularly on the webcam. Not familiar. Railfans has webcams set up all over the country. And that's how I found that. And this is one of the reasons we're going to Elkhart. I watched them on the webcam. It was Flagstaff. And they had a really good microbrewery brew pub right on the other side of the tracks. So we got to eat there, and the food was good, and then walk over to the train station. And it's right near a depot, so I think like 4 trains or something an hour come through there. You're able to get right up. I mean, not that I'm recommending this, and I would not do it. You could touch them if you wanted to. You're that close. There's nothing really stopping you from doing that. So that's my favorite. And we got to walk around the Amtrak station that was in there. It's tiny, but they do have some memorabilia from rail days of past. So Flagstaff was my favorite. And then when we went to Gallup, New Mexico, we were passing by on our way out to Arizona. We stopped in Gallup and got a room at, it was either a Residence Inn or a Town Place Suites. And we used one of the nightly upgrades from being Bonvoy members to get a two-bedroom suite. And other than the elevator being out, so we had to carry our luggage up 4 flights of steps. It had a beautiful window overlooking Route 66 and the railroad tracks with a couch. And we were able to, from there, watch trains go by all day and night, just like we were watching it on TV. So I really like that. That is definitely in our future again. And there's also in Gallup, there's a couple historic hotels that I'd like to stay at. So definitely going back to Gallup for that. Did you have any favorites? No?
I don't think so.
Okay. And Sue does enjoy this. She does not do it just to make me happy. Because when we were talking to people, people were surprised. It's like, can you like this? I'm like, she's the one who suggested going to Strasburg Railroad. Okay.
And then question number 2 was about the Railroad Museum, which we already covered.
Okay.
The rest are about cruises.
Okay.
If you're parking a car at any cruise terminal, would you actually park at the terminal or somewhere off the port nearby so we can use a shuttle to get to the port and back with the shuttle? All right.
Just waiting for this car to pass me, and then I'll answer the question. Is he going to pass me? Or you disappear?
Probably waiting until you pass the cop cars.
Okay. So as far as this, generally I would recommend parking at the ports. It is a little more expensive than getting an off-site parking. The problem I found when we've done the off-site parking is getting to the cruise ship. It's actually more convenient to park off-site because these are people who do this multiple times a week. They know exactly where to drop you off. They know the best case scenarios. They can instruct you on where to take your luggage, where to go, what to expect. And the shuttles to the ports generally run regularly. That's not the issue. The issue is coming back. Because unless you've done it before, you're not entirely sure where to find the shuttle. So you're looking for that, even under best of circumstances. The embarkation day is tiring and stressful because having been on vacation for a week, you're not used to getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So you're waking up at 6 o'clock, you're battling people to get breakfast, you're making sure you forgot everything, getting your luggage, going through customs and immigration. It's tiring, stressful day. Then looking for the shuttle line. And you may have to wait. We had one in Tampa where we had to wait for almost an hour for our shuttle. And that was really our only alternative because it was well over a mile away. And it was in their gated lot. And then, and it would have, I did the math, and by parking in Tampa at the lot, I think we saved a total of $10. Plus we had to go somewhere afterwards, so that we got delayed because we had to wait for the shuttle driver. Then when we used the off-site in Long Beach, Los Angeles, excuse me, not Long Beach, San Pedro, they're fairly close to each other. We had a park and sail deal that was really well, the shuttle got us to the ship, no problems whatsoever. We were off the ship coming back before 8 o'clock. The problem is the shuttles didn't start running until 9 a.m. So we wound up just taking a cab. It was a little over a mile. It wasn't that far, but it was too far to walk with luggage. And so we wound up taking a cab that way. So I'd recommend just biting the bullet, parking at the garage. Most of the ports, you pull in, you drop off your luggage, and then you go park. So usually the porters will just take the luggage directly from your car, so you may not even need to touch them. It just makes things a lot more convenient. So I think it's worth the added cost to park at the port. The only bad one we had with parking at the port, and I would still do it again, was we took a winter cruise out of Bayonne, New Jersey, near Newark. And when we got back, it was 4 degrees. It was brutally cold. And we were on the 3rd floor of the garage. And you had a couple hundred people waiting for the 2 elevators. What I wound up doing was I grabbed the non-rolling suitcases. I hoofed it up the 3 flights of steps and warmed up the car until Sue got on the elevator, which was 10 minutes. And to tell you how cold it was, I had the car running for 10 minutes. We drove another 20 minutes before the car was warm. That's how cold it was. But again, I would do that again. Bayonne's weird because they have a garage and then they also have, they call it the overflow lot. So if the garage is full, you park out in the overflow lot, which I found to be a better experience than parking in the garage. You have any thoughts on this, Sue?
I like the one for the Port Canaveral.
Yeah. Oh, that was nice.
Yeah. They were there when you got off the ship. You didn't really have to wait. Maybe 10 minutes we had to wait. And we were at our car, I guess, in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was real close.
Yeah. So it's mixed, but generally, unless there's a huge cost savings, I would recommend parking at the port. I know we sat out of Miami. I did get emails that because of Miami is just a mess. The port of Miami, just with all the construction and the number of ships and everything, it's a mess. And that's saying it nicely. They were offering a certain number of free shuttle rides from the airport to the ship and back for free. And if you parked your car at the airport. So that might be an option depending on the port of that. But again, do the math, figure out how much am I going to save versus the hassle of it, especially if you're traveling with a large group or people who have mobility issues, because getting in and out of those vans isn't easy. And so maybe worth the extra few bucks. That way you can pull up and grab them. And because when we parked in Miami, I mean, that went really well. Even though Miami, we got in about 3 hours before we were supposed to. I just figured we can either wait at the port or we can wait in traffic. That we were able to kill the time when we were one of the first ones on the ship. Okay, next question.
Since doing the channel on Labor Day of 2025.
Okay, hold that thought. We're in a construction zone, and I have a car coming up behind me. So just, and again, we're doing this, but safety is always number one. And okay, I'm ready.
Since doing the channel on Labor Day of 2025, what would be the worst thing that we did?
Other than sharing a bed with you? Yeah, for those of you who don't know, for the 15 years before doing this, Sue and I, we had separate bedrooms, separate beds. And it actually made us happy. So when we've done this, we try and get queen size beds whenever possible, but sometimes they're a lot more, and we get a king size bed. And in actually a couple of cases, we've had to share a queen size bed. Sue does not share the blankets well.
And we've had our own hotel a couple times also.
Yeah, we've had our own hotel room a couple times if the price is cheap enough. Or we've gotten upgraded to 2-bedroom suites a couple times. Like right now we're going to be staying in a 3-bedroom house, so we'll have separate bedrooms for that. I mean, just off the top of my head, that Ibiza land tour, that was the worst thing that I can think of. That was definitely worst thing in Spain. I just thought it was a waste of time. But as far as, you know, like when in the U.S., when we're going back and forth, honestly, I can't think of anything that stands out as, why did we do that? Or that was a bad idea, or anything that was really disappointing. The one thing that annoyed me the most was at the Horseshoe in Las Vegas. Was you have to pay a resort fee, which I'm not happy about, but I understand. But at least give something for it. What it was included was internet access for one device, not one device at a time, one device period. So whatever one you signed on with, that was the one that you had to use for. And being content creators and trying to feed the beast that is YouTube and social media, that's tough. So we will probably not be staying at a Caesars property again for that sole reason. But other than that, I can't think of anything. Did you have anything you didn't like?
Just the land tour.
Yeah.
And I thought their beaches were okay. It wasn't the greatest because they had like seaweeds and rocks and
Yeah.
all that on the beach also.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so yeah, Ibiza comes out as the biggest clunker so far. Yeah, if you're in your 20s and you want to go party, hang out, the DJ scene, I have nothing bad to say about Ibiza. But there's so many other places I would rather be with that. But yeah, if I think of anything before then, this thing, I'll come up. I'll mention it. But for the most part, I've really enjoyed doing this. And well, actually, the worst part of ongoing is packing the car. That is always stressful, trying to get everything in there. We have gotten a lot better with that. We're realizing what we use, what we don't use.
We don't have as much.
And we don't have much. Yeah, we put a lot of stuff in our storage locker, have some bins coming that we need to pick up, that maybe put some of the looser stuff away, and we can label that stuff that we need, but we don't need it every trip. Okay, next question.
After the cruise in August, do you have any idea what we will be doing? And I know we have a cruise in October and 2 or 3 cruises in November.
I have no idea. I know what we will not be doing because I mentioned it to Sue because I was kicking ideas around, and I was thinking of flying from Vancouver to Edmonton for a Weird Al Yankovic concert. Her reaction was less than, "Oh, that's a brilliant idea." So we will definitely not be doing that.
You can still do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I just gauge your reactions. The plan is, and we have nothing concrete right now, we're just finalizing our plans for Iowa and the Dakotas in July, is spend some time in Washington State, Oregon, Idaho, in the Pacific Northwest. We're going to spend, on the way to Vancouver, the plan is to spend some time, drive through Canada, maybe enter in Wisconsin, in Minnesota, and drive across that way and spend a week or two, assuming we get our passports back. We just had to renew our passports. So they're supposed to be back by July, the end of July, so we shouldn't have any problem with that. But I don't want to make any plans until we have them in our hands. But no, so we'll be discussing that. There are a lot of good airplane museums in the Pacific Northwest. That's where Boeing's headquarters is. That's the plan. Idaho, Montana, those are 2 of the states we haven't been to, that entire Pacific Northwest. On this upcoming trip, when we go from Denver to South Dakota, I think we're going to go out of the way and go through Wyoming, and we may head back through Wyoming because Big Boy, the locomotive, is touring the U.S. We're not going to be anywhere that he is, and even if we were, I don't know if I'd want to fight the crowds, but he's going to be residing permanently in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So definitely want to see him, and it shouldn't be as crowded. So to answer your question, I have no idea what we're going to be doing. I mean, depending on how things are going, we may fly down to Los Angeles and take a Mexican Riviera cruise or something similar just for a couple days. So we'll see. We'll discuss it. We are putting ideas in the ChatGTP just to keep track because we have a lot of things that people tell us as we go. It's like, oh, you need to check this place out. So we put them in, and then ChatGPT tells us, if places are in the area. It's really helped us plan our South Dakota portion of the trip, because it's in South Dakota. Well, that could mean it's 6-7 hours from it. So giving us some recommendations on what we're doing. I mean, we don't do it blindly. We follow up and make sure it makes sense and stuff we want to do. And we already have some things for the future next time we go through South Dakota. So
we're going to do the Mammoth National Park.
Yeah, Mammoth National Park, and Mount Rushmore.
The Moccasin Hot Spring.
Yeah.
Are we doing the Cascade Falls or no?
I don't know. Yeah, we can double check this week on that.
Well, said it's like 10-15 minutes away from the hot springs. And I think there was something else, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was a couple other things. I think the Corn Palace. So we won't be bored. And then when we go up we're going to spend our anniversary in Duluth, Minnesota. On the way there, we're going to stop in Minneapolis for a Twins game. And I cashed a couple of my Marriott free nights to stay at the JW Marriott's, which is right by the Mall of America. So that'll be interesting to check out. It's just nice checking out all these places we've heard of and seen on TV. And then we also need the plan, because we're going to Vegas for the race in October, of where we want to stay there and what we want to do, what shows we want to do, if there's anything that we need to get tickets for. I'd like to see something at the Sphere, but the tickets are expensive, which is a good time to remind you. Please like and subscribe to this, so help us get monetized. We can take you more places, and more importantly, we can go more places. Any more questions?
Well, you took my 6 and 7.
Yeah, and just like Sue comes up with these questions, and I have no idea what they're going to be. It's sort of like for my Toastmasters friends table topics. So if it sounds like I'm making stuff up as we go, it's because I am.
And we are looking for some thermal or hot spring spots anywhere in the area. It could be in the United States, out of the United States. We found a couple in South Dakota, and I've actually found a couple in Colorado, and I believe it's in Utah also. We have been to Valencia. We did a thermal spring. It's not a hot spring because it wasn't hot. It's only about 69 degrees when we went in May.
Yeah, I think it was mid-May.
And I want to try other hot springs. I don't know about Joe.
Yeah. No, I'm up for it. So, so if you have any recommendations, we are going to be going tentatively back to Spain and Italy for a month combined in January. We just booked the cruise for early January. After we get back from that, I think we're going to head over to Europe before we head over to Asia and Australia. So, if you have any recommendations for any of those places, any place along the world that you think we would like. We like auto racing. We like Disney. We like NASCAR. We like trains, airplanes, cruising, quirky little museums, these under the radar, unsung museums. So if you know any, send them our way. And if we're not going to be in the area, we'll definitely add them to our list of future ones. We're finding out, as we meet more and more people, there's a lot of things that we never heard of. And it really bothers me when I don't know something. Because, you know, like I mentioned to people, we stayed in Helen, Georgia. Our daughter got married earlier this year near there, so we stayed in Helen. I had never heard of it. And the only reason we really stayed there was the rooms were cheap. The reason they're cheap is it's a very seasonal location. It gets busy in the spring, summer, holiday season, because it's set up like a Bavarian German village. Even the Wendy's looks like it belongs in Germany. It's just such a nice place to hang out. And I mentioned it to people. It's like, have you heard of? Oh yeah, I know all about that place. It bothered me that they knew and I didn't. So let me know of these places that we should be checking out on our journeys. You know, we're probably not going to be back east, possibly until November, when we drive from Seattle to Homestead, Florida, Miami, for the NASCAR race. And we're going to have about a week and a half to do that. So we'll be able to see a few things, but not a lot on that. But, you know, the Pacific Northwest, Plain States, Midwest, let us know recommendations, thoughts, or tourist traps that we should avoid. We just hit one that ChatGPT said, oh, it's nice. And it wasn't bad. It was just so far out of the way. It was an overlook of the Allegheny River in Kennerdale. If it was right off the side of the road, I would say definitely stop, get out, stretch your legs, take a look. This was about 8 miles off of Interstate 80 and then 8 miles back. Definitely not worth the detour. Pretty, but not worth the detour on that. Okay. And that's it with the questions?
That's all I have.
Okay.
And any mountain railroads, or not railroads, mountain roller coasters. We found one in Helen, Georgia, and I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Somebody said in Pigeon Forge.
Yeah, Pigeon Forge. And I found one in Indoor also.
Okay.
So if we ever go back to indoor speed,
Yeah.
gotta look for it.
Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, just any places you suggest. I mean, if you suggest that it's not our cup of tea, we'll just ignore it. But we're open to doing a variety of different activities. That was we're here for. And the worst that happens is we don't like something. So again, we're going to end this. Let us, like, subscribe, send us your question, comments. Let us know if you're enjoying this. The first one, as of this recording, only got a handful of views. So I'm hoping this is something that builds with time. If you have a suggestion for a title that we could use, a catchy title with it, because my vision is this is going to be a podcast without any guests, without any rhyme or reason, just us talking while we're showing the open road. Yeah. And so, so we have a couple more in the can. Sue was working on, because the second one we did, we had a lot of wind noise because the air conditioner, which we have gotten fixed, was out. So we had to keep our windows open to avoid suffocating. So we got a lot of wind noise. I tried to fix it, and I got demonic voices in the background. So I turned it over to Sue, who edits the bulk of our videos. She turns my ramblings into coherent thoughts. She was able to do it, so we'll probably be releasing that a couple of days before we release this one. But again, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Bye.